This podcast is brought to you by Barry's Tea. Family owned since 1901, Barry's Tea have spent many years perfecting their blends, and for me, Barry's Tea is the best tasting tea in Ireland. I really like the Barry's Tea Master Blend. That's the one in the black box. It's crafted with the expertise of their master blender, who told me personally they only use their highest quality leaves for a richer, full-bodied flavour. It's one for the true tea connoisseurs. Barry's Tea also brings with it a sense of home, belonging and connection. Just one sip of Barry's Tea and you're home. So stick the kettle on, make a cup of Barry's Tea and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Roasted with me, Mark Moriarty, where I chat to notable people about their lives through the wonderful world of food and drink. Today's guest is one of Ireland's most recognisable faces, and by a distance, he's laughing in front of me, Ireland's most popular chef. Commander-in-Chief of MacNean House and Restaurant in Blackline, County Cavan, as well as numerous TV series, 20 cookbooks, and I don't even have time to begin listing the numerous accolades I saw on Wikipedia this morning in a 30-plus year career. Neven Maguire, welcome to Roasted.
Thank you so much, Mark. Who writes this? I love it.
It's a good team effort, you know.
Well done, guys. Thank you.
We flower that up.
I'm very impressed. I want that.
Sitting in front of you, Neven, is a dessert. So, as always with the guests on this show, we ask for one ingredient or one dish that you're into at the moment. You said eggs.
Eggs.
So in front of you, you've got basically poached meringue, custard, toasted hazelnuts.
Stop.
Because I know you're into sweets and into desserts. So
How did you know?
I listen to you,
Mark,
I tell
look
you.
at this.
Wow. So talk to me about eggs after you stuff your face. Go for it.
Can I?
Yeah.
Why aren't you eating one?
Huh?
Why aren't you having one?
I'm watching here down
It's so good. It's delicious.
I was surprised. I expected to see something from you, something fancy or some...
I think eggs are probably... That's beautiful. I love the texture of the hazelnuts. Delicious, Mark. I love eggs because they're so versatile. And they're one of my favourite ingredients. If you were to ask me, what's the one ingredient you can't live without? It's got to be eggs.
Really, yeah?
Yeah, I love them. I love them. Eat them every day. Maybe even twice a day. That is delicious. I remember doing a dessert, Mark, poaching meringues in some coconut and making a little kind of brown bread parfait meringue when I was kind of maybe 2021. So that reminds me, cunelling the eggs. You have it nicely shaped. Gorgeous. Fair play to you, Mark.
So you're 2021. Where are you working at that point?
I'd say I'm very bad at years, but I think I would have been either just finishing up in Roscoff, because we were there for 3 months on a kind of like stage when I was in college, and then I went to work in Berlin. Berlin was great fun. So I went with a group. There was a group of us went over to Berlin. I worked in the Grand Hotel in East Berlin, and that was fantastic. So they had 5 restaurants, a bakery, they had a 1 Michelin star restaurant, and a restaurant called the Golden Goose, where goose was their speciality. And the very first day I went in to the Grand Hotel, they opened up the meat fridge. Irish beef, Irish lamb, the green fields of Irish. You love beer. They all kept saying that, but they were amazing. I loved it. And German people, they love Irish people because there's an empty there. They're fun, hardworking. You know, they just love coming over here fishing. Even when we were closing our restaurant, we had German fishermen coming over. They'd be catching pike, trout. Christmas Day, they'd be ringing us. We'd be having the turkey and ham and goose. They were having their pike. Incredible. So I loved it.
Germany wouldn't stand out though as a place as a kind of young chef to be going off to at the time.
Well, interesting. It was called a Wider Horizon programme. So there was a couple of butchers, there was bakers, I was the only chef. And I got the opportunity to go for 3 months. So we had to learn a little bit of German, and I wasn't very good at that. But they all loved to speak English. And I loved East Berlin. It was after the East Berlin wall came down. So there was a great techno dance scene there, which I was big into. And they were absolutely brilliant. And I just thought they were fantastic. I learned a lot there now about fish, and I worked in the Golden Goose restaurant. I worked in the 1 Michelin star in the bakery, so I got a lot of experience, and they were absolutely brilliant. I had a brilliant time.
What were the nights out like?
Oh, they were brilliant.
I've never been.
Rhythm as a dancer. I remember that
really,
one. Yeah. I remember going out with the group and meeting different local people, and when they say you're Irish, you know, and like so the nightclubs went on at 3 or 4 o'clock. It was brilliant.
Were you single back then?
Yeah. And we stayed in a hostel. So it was great, and we went out and enjoyed it. And it was a cool city. Probably changed a lot. I was over there a few years ago. I was recording with the Irish Ambassador for one of my TV shows with Borbia. And it's still it's known as the New York of Europe, but a really cool place. I'd say a very good, kind of vibrant food scene. I was only there for a few days, so I'd love to go back and see it. But I have great memories of it. I used to buy vinyl there too. All kind of trance, kind of like... kind of Frankfurt was the big record label at the time, so I used to buy a lot of kind of vinyl there, and yeah, it's great.
People were really surprised. I remember a couple of years ago when you started, I think it was during COVID, putting up the dance tunes and the records on social media. But that was something that was big for you before you were even cooking.
Yeah, well, when I was 16, I was cooking before that. So when I was 16, I really kind of got into dance music. And every Monday, once a month, I'd come up on the bus to Dublin from Enniskillen, spend all my wages on cookbooks and records. Went into 2 shops, Abbey Dis and Power Music, both in Temple Bar. And I used to buy all and then go back in the bus at 7 o'clock in the evening. So for my 21st birthday, I was given a pair of decks, Technics, still had them. And during COVID then I was kind of like, we were closed obviously for 8 months. I was listening to Deck Pierce and thinking, God, I have that record. I have that. I'm going to play it. All the records. Mark, I have a collection of over 3,000 records. Yeah. Lay up in the attic. My decks that I got for my 21st birthday. So my wife sent them away to get them revamped and then got a new kind of a mixer and the rest is history. So kind of reconnected with music. And I think you need something outside food. Music is my passion. I'm not a DJ. I used to go into a nightclub on a Wednesday and a Saturday night because the restaurant was quiet. So Dad would drive me and my twin in. So, of course, me being from Calf and getting in free. And but I never once got paid. And I never looked for money. So I played for the last hour.
And you were DJing?
Yeah, I played for the last hour. So I played there for about, and it was in a big nightclub. It was about 2,500 people. So it was called Mirage in the River Club. And then there was a place called The Bush. So that was good fun.
You never thought about going down that career line?
No, been asked to do a couple of gigs. Kind of like Electric Picnic was asked to a few times. And
you have to do that.
Maybe sometime I'll do something for charity. Yep. But I'm just enjoying it. Great. Do you know what? You kind of lose yourself. And because we're closing on a Sunday now since COVID, which is brilliant. So kind of Sunday afternoon, cook for my father-in-law comes down to the house, have nice family time, but go out for an hour or two. I could spend 3 or 4 hours just playing them. And then I post the music and then, see, I never spoke about it, Mark, for about 20 years. And people said, Jesus, where did this come out of? But I always loved the music, always loved it. Then I put it away, I got too busy. And then when I got the deck set up and just, you need to have time outside your food, your career, you know what I mean? And that's my little thing. And I just enjoy it. My wife hates the stuff, to be honest with you, but I love it. So I call it mixing in the kitchen because that's where I do some of my videos, especially during lockdown. But I love the music and, it's all vinyl. I wouldn't have a clue how to use the digital stuff. My wife got me like a laptop and Serato, which is kind of an online DJ system, but I'm still back to playing the vinyl, and I just love it. So and I played for my 21st birthday for my 50th birthday last year. Yeah.
You're only 50?
Yeah, only 50. I love that.
How long? Because that's in my notes, obviously doing all the research, like you have been around for...
Are they saying I'm older?
Dare I say forever? It actually says, I think it said you were 47 on Wikipedia.
I love it.
You need to update that.
I love Wikipedia. No, don't do that. Keep that there. No, I'm a twin. So me and my twin, he's a woodwork teacher in Selbridge and we were 50 last year. And we had a great birthday. So we had lunch in the restaurant. I've only eaten 3 times in the restaurant my whole life. And we had lunch with about 60 people there. And then we went up to the local golf club. We had over 200 people at it. It was brilliant. And then my DJ'd for an hour. No one danced to it, but I loved it. And that's it. It was full. It was good.
Tell me about family life then. There was a few of you.
9 of us in the family.
9?
5 boys and 4 girls. So my mum and dad, Joe and Vera. And I'm a twin, so I have an older brother, Kenneth. You've met, he sets up the kitchens and that, and great brother. And then I have a brother in Australia, one brother he lives in Belturbet in Cavan. And then I have a sister in Galway, Sharon, Sonia and Suzanne and Naomi. The girls are great cooks. They don't need a recipe. They can just rattle up beautiful food. And it's just interesting seeing the way they cook and that. Whereas my twin brother, he is a very, he's kind of just a bit basic about food and about cooking. He's getting better. But my oldest brother, Kenneth, he's good at Asian food like satay and different things like that.
Did you get on growing up?
Yes. Got on very, very well. Probably life had changed because, see, our restaurant was closed, Mark. We closed from 73 to 89, sorry. So, 73 when we were born. Our house was bombed twice. So it was really, really tough times. The whole front of the building, it was the UVF just across the Garda station. I was very young. I can't remember. It was just a car bomb and destroyed the business. So we closed the business from 73 to 89. And 89, Mum and Dad said, listen, we'll reopen. I was taking an interest in food.
Was it just sat there for those years?
Yeah, it was. Well, actually, Mum done B&B and so there would have been a lot of guards and custom staying. She would have done functions like dinner dances, that kind of thing. At the local golf club, there was a local bar next door where they could maybe sit about 100 people or 120 people. Dinner dances were a big thing for the local. Sean and Gales was the local GAA club. So Mum kept doing that and then she'd keep people. But then in 1989 she said we're going to reopen again. But it's changed so much.
Because for people who don't know, like Blackline is literally on the border so you've got Belcoo on the other side.
That's it.
But you're literally, so obviously growing up,
with the times and the troubles. There was a lot going on around that area.
It's kind of changed a lot, so it hasn't, for the better, definitely. But during the troubles, it was definitely kind of scary, and no one wanted to come near the border. So some days, Mark, we might, when we were open for lunch or dinner, you could do 10 people, you could do nobody, you could do 20. There was no consistency, truthfully. It was really tough. And we looked to move many times. Mum and Dad did. And then we got the break in television, a programme called Open House. People got talking about it. That was with Marty Whelan and Mary Kennedy. I was on that programme live every Tuesday for 5 years. And that's where the whole TV thing kind of started.
How did that come about then?
Well, I'll tell you, I was doing a programme called Movable Feast. There was a lady there, Reg Luby. She's in 2FM now. So she moved on to Open House. And actually, I was asked to do a prawn cocktail, a simple one in a glass, and then a kind of like a fancy one, big Wedgwood plate, you know, the dressings, and looked very posh. And then I had to do the desserts, because I'd won a couple of dessert competitions. I'm not a pastry chef, but I love desserts, and that was delicious, by the way. Thank you. But so I'm very much self-taught when it comes to desserts. But I won the Egan Run a dessert of the year. So that was a lovely recognition. So she asked me would I do a dessert and would I do the prawn cocktail. I said, of course. So then she moved on to Open House, and she said, we're thinking of having a resident chef. But the first year, like we do, the Today Show on RT, we go down and we do our menu, whatever like that. So lots of different chefs. And then I went for an interview in the late show studio. I think there was maybe 5 or 10 chefs, I'm not sure. But I remember I was really nervous. I had to do a salad of spicy chicken.
This is kind of a screen test.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. Or an interview, a food interview, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So then they rang me up the next day and said, listen, the gig is yours. And I said, oh my God, are you sure? And yeah. So live TV, it was great fun.
Who were the other chefs? Come on, is there any names?
I don't know. I honestly, because I didn't see any of them, truthfully. I will be. I'd love to tell you who they were, but I honestly don't know. All I can tell you, there was the director and the camera girl, and I had 10 minutes to cook, or maybe 12 minutes to cook a dish. And I was so nervous.
Were you? Yeah.
I wasn't even driving at the time. I got a friend to drive me up. And the size of the late studio, I was buzzing. And then they rang me up, and like my mum and dad were so proud. And
were you aware of how big that was at the time, or was it just, I've got it?
Well, I definitely was, because you see, it was live at 3 and then it moved on to Open House. And with Marty Whelan and Mary Kennedy, they had a great loyal audience, great people. Today they're still great friends of mine. Marty mightn't be the best chef, I'd say. He can't boil water, but I love the man to bits. I do his show every Friday. A lyric, love it. And Mary Kennedy's a great cook. She knows her onions. They're great people. But doing live TV, you've done it. It's great buzz. And that's where I got a lot of confidence. I remember the cameraman saying, when you're talking to the camera, you think you're talking to your granny. I thought that was amazing advice. So yeah, a couple of times. There was one time I was cooking duck. The gas goes live on TV. Thank God I had an electric oven. I wasn't flow gas, by the way. So the gas goes, popped it into the oven. And then another time I was doing the Christmas pudding. So I had everything weighed out and had the breadcrumbs in too deep of a bowl. So the whole thing mixed. And this is my auntie's recipe. And I kept thinking, God, this is far too wet. I forgot the breadcrumbs. So I had the whole thing in. Marty came over. He was absolutely brilliant. We emptied it out, mixed in the breadcrumbs, and the slagging I got was fantastic. Priceless.
If you were to look back on those performances now, based on all your sort of experience, what would Neven Maguire now think of that?
Wow, you probably cringe. Yeah. But I've never changed. I've always had the love and the passion like you have. I've always never set out that I wanted to be in TV. It's just the way it happened. I love it. I'd never take it for granted. I feel very blessed and very lucky. And you meet some amazing people, whether it's chefs or producers, that. And you feel very lucky, and you learn, you get inspiration, you see what's really good and exciting. I love doing the travel shows too, because when you go to different countries, like Italy's one of the best countries I've been to, the way they protect food and ingredients, it's just an incredible place. Portugal, Spain, I think it's absolutely amazing.
They're pretty intense, those trips, when you're travelling. What goes on off camera on those sort of trips?
It's routine. What do you mean? How many boo-boos do I do? Loads. We start at 8 every morning. We finish at 7, and you do 3 items a day. It can be 2, one with a chef, a producer, winemaker, whatever it is. But it's great fun. So you're always away for about 2 weeks for 7 programs. About that. Everyone thinks it's a holiday. People say to me, Mark, in the restaurant, do your wife and twins go with you? You must be joking. They'd never see you.
Yeah.
But you know what? I absolutely love it. I feel very privileged. And all the countries like Portugal, we just finished a new show in Portugal. It's been great fun. We've done over 250 shows with the same David here. It's brilliant. I love it. And the same crew. And they know my strengths, they know my weaknesses. And I'm just myself. I just feel very lucky, to be honest with you.
What are your strengths?
That's a very good point. I'm nice. I'm kind. I hope I'm respectful. I listen to people. They're the stars. That's a really interesting question. No one's ever asked me that, Mark. So I don't know. I think I'm good to people, and I'm genuinely interested. I may not take it all in, because sometimes it's a lot to take in when it's a wine and different things like that. But I'm respectful. I think that's really important. Yeah.
And weaknesses?
Lots of them. Knowing your lines, reading an auto cue. Yeah, listen, you're just yourself. Thank God, a lot of it's pre-recorded, you know, but you're just yourself, and you try it. You try and just enjoy it. Be gracious, be kind, have fun. And I suppose, like one time we went to a kitchen in Spain. The chef had no English. I had no Spanish, so we had to translate. But you and me were chefs. We can translate through food and ingredients. And that was fun. So I had to explain to the camera what the chef was doing. His speciality was oysters. He'd done it 3 different ways. So that was really interesting. And you had to be respectful. And I enjoyed it. So I did, yeah.
Are you aware of, how do I put this, how well known you are in Ireland? Or the sort of gravitas people have when they see you? Are you aware of that? Like, I'll put that in context.
Okay.
So I remember when the first kitchen, maybe the second kitchen I was ever in, I went up to you as a transition year student. And I remember, I think I spoke about this in the podcast before, there were 2 things we remembered. Was that Brian Dobson was in for dinner, and that was huge news. It was like, oh my God, the fella from the news.
That's right.
And he's done this podcast. And the other one was you brought us to Enniskillen to get, I think, to go to a cookery store. I remember you were going to the gym, and then I was with a friend of mine, dropped us off for ice cream, and we got the bus home. But the feeling of we're hanging around with Neven Maguire
I love
as
that.
15-year-old kids
That's incredible.
was huge. But are you aware of all that?
I love people, and I get my energy from people. And even when you're in the supermarket and somebody might come up with a Solaric and say, "What is that? How do I cook it?" You know, Eva, I just love it. I'll tell you the first time I really noticed it, Mark, when I was doing the open house show that I mentioned. I went down to a small little filling station in Timoleague. I was on holidays with my wife Imelda. 3 people knew my name, and I said, "My God, this is incredible." I said, "This is so cool." Yeah, and I just said, "Oh God, good job, I behaved myself." I'm with Imelda, who is my wife now. But it's just interesting. I love people, and even when I'm travelling in the airport, you meet someone. Always be nice, be kind, be gracious, and listen, I just love people. That's all I can tell you. You know,
It must happen a lot now, does it?
it's great. Even when you're walking down the street, people say, "How are you, Neven? What's for breakfast? You going to cook me something nice?" Sure, I love that.
Does anyone annoy you?
Very few.
Very
Takes
few.
a lot to annoy me. I'd say I have a very good temperament, Mark. And I'd say, you know, I mean, like, yeah, like if people are annoying, I just would go on. I wouldn't waste time. I wouldn't get into it at all like that. But honestly, 99.9% people are very nice, very kind, funny, interested to know. I said, oh, and particularly the men in the restaurant, they'll say, "Oh, I love your travel shows." You know, the women will talk about food. The men say, "Oh, I love the travelling. I'm going to bring the wife there next."
This was actually, it kind of leads into that. I have this down, and I've always wanted to ask you this. So you said it, one of the nicest men in Ireland. That's kind of how I would pitch Neven Maguire. But what annoys you?
Oh, now, what annoys me?
Could be anything.
Takes a lot to annoy me. It's very interesting. Wow, how do I answer that? Do you notice I've gone quiet now because I'm really having to think that because it takes a lot. I suppose if you go to a trouble in the restaurant, I remember once there was a man, he came in and we cooked the meal. It might have been 4 or 5 years ago. And he said, "You know what? I didn't really like your food." I said, "Okay, sorry, did you want something plain?" He said, "Yeah, I just wanted a plain steak." I said, "Well, why didn't you ask us? We'd have done that. We want to just cater for our guests, our customers. We want them to have a nice experience." Sorry. And that's really important to us. So people, when they come, they're not going to get food that they're going to say, "I have no clue what I'm eating here." You know, I wouldn't say it's comfort food, but it's a lovely dining experience. Sorry, Mark, it's the whole experience. It's from the service to the decor to the food. You know, people book 2 years ahead, you know. And I suppose when they can't get a booking, then people always give me a bit of a rub. "Oh, you weren't there on the night." But my head chef's been there 22 years. You know, I trust my team, you know, and I kind of flip it very quickly. I said, "Well, did you enjoy everything? Was everything okay?" Because I'm there 80%. I know I can't be there all the time. It's about believing in your team, trusting them. Don't know if I answered your question, but I suppose it's people not appreciating the work that chefs go to. We put a lot of hours in. We work hard. We want people to have a lovely experience, you know. Pardon me, Mark. We want them to feel that they can travel, you know, like the travelling, it's all Irish customers we're getting from to Black Lion. So we want them to enjoy the whole thing. So if they've done that, okay, I'll tell you, there was a woman in the restaurant this year. She was 90 years of age. I think it was maybe before Easter. She was a retired home economics teacher. So I asked her, you know, "Did you enjoy your meal?" She was there with her son and daughter over the west of Ireland. She said, "Neven, it's the best meal of my life." And I said, oh, this is fantastic. I mean, to me, that's the nicest reward, whatever you want to call it, anyone can say. Now, she did have 2 bottles of wine in her, but I'm only joking. Yeah. But I was delighted to hear that, because that, to me, you've given people a great experience. They felt relaxed and comfortable. We've a great team. We've 60 people employed in a small rural village. I'm immensely proud of that. 35 years open. So it's great achievement. We never take it for granted, because I remember cooking for 5 people, 7 people. I told you that we had really tough years. We couldn't pay the bills. So I always remind the staff, don't forget the tough days. You know, there's one woman working for us for 50 years for our family, Marion Fee. Imagine that loyalty. You know, so if you look after them like family, our restaurant, our whole industry is in a very difficult time at the minute. We know that. But for us, we have a very different model. We went through some really tough times. We made some good decisions after COVID. One sitting mark, closing on a Sunday, you know, and I think it's worked well for the team. Put your team first. Happy staff, happy restaurant, happy team, happy people. That's what it's all about.
Where do you get the energy? Like, talking to you even here in the last, 20 minutes in, you have an infectious energy for it.
Oh, I love it.
In a tiring job.
Mark, I love the variety, I suppose. It's a really good point. Never did I think I wanted to be a chef from the age of 12. First boy to do home economics. So I loved being with all the girls. I remember once we had to make a shirt once. Oh, it was so bad. My mum and dad used it to polish glasses in the restaurant. But I knew cooking and food was for me. But that was down to my mum and dad. Pardon me. And I just said I wanted to be a chef. Cooking was for me. I actually applied for Killybegs. I wasn't accepted. I was very disappointed. But you know, things happen for a reason.
You weren't accepted. What do they
It
think of
doesn't
that
matter.
now?
No. I go back and I judge, and we get students in there. Great college. It wasn't meant to be at the time. So I went into Fermanagh College. So I went in there and I trained and came back every night, cooked in the restaurant. And then I was teaching there for nearly 5 years. So that's where I learned a lot to manage and work with young people. They'll all have good days, they'll all have bad days, to nurture them. That's really important. Young people. Like Carmen was one of my students. Now she's my head chef for 22 years. That says a lot. So
Do you know that? Do you know when you see someone?
You do.
A young person?
Well, I'll tell you, another girl that I'm working with now at Simply Better in Duns, Olivia Rafferty, she came up from Ballymaloo. She's from Roscommon. She came up for a week and I said, my God, this girl's amazing. Her attitude, her manners, her enthusiasm, she was perfect and a great talent. She worked for me for 8 years. And then she went away to work in a great bakery, Folk in Enniskillen, went to open up her own business, and now she's with Simply Better. But great girl. So when you meet people like that and you see the talent, you say, wow, this is special. Nurture that. You know, people will always move on, but leave the door open for them to come back.
It's interesting you say that, because it's a competitive industry.
Yeah.
Like, being in a restaurant is a competitive industry. To be at the top of your game in anything, we've spoken to people on this podcast from different backgrounds. It's kind of in high performance.
Mm-hmm.
They're all very competitive. So you must have a bit of that in you.
Oh, you have to. You have to be competitive, and I suppose we have the model that works, but Mark, it took us a long time. Before COVID, we were doing the 2 sittings. You know, it was a bit, not robotics, maybe that's the wrong word, it's the word I can think of now, but now we have a lovely experience. We've managed the hours for the team. We closed there for 10 days in June, or a week. Next year we're going to do it 10 days. Never done that in 35 years. 2 weeks at Christmas. So we've made some big calls, but the right calls. Staff are definitely happier.
Do you make them?
Oh yeah, of course. Myself and Imelda. Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah. I mean, like we make them, and Andrea, she's like my guardian angel. So she would be my PA, and she's our office manager. She's been with us for 16 years. So we have great loyalty. We treat them like family, and that's the key to it. We'll all have bad days, but good days will outweigh them. Simple as.
Thank you to Barry's Tea for supporting this podcast. Barry's Tea holds a special place in people's hearts, not just because it tastes amazing, but because as Irish people, Barry's Tea is one of those special things that connects us to home and that sense of belonging. We drink it in cafes, restaurants, at book clubs. We even bring it on our holidays and drink it all over the world. No matter where you are or what you're doing, one sip of Barry's Tea and you're home.
Talk to me about, you've spoken very fondly about your parents. What were they like? What did they do?
Oh my God. So my dad was a cattle dealer, or not a cattle dealer. He worked for the Department of Agriculture. So he was. My uncle, my dad's brother, was a cattle dealer. So farming was a big part of their livelihood. My mother was a trained hotel manager, trained at Colbrewer Street. They bought the building.
Was she from Dublin?
No, from actually Cavan, and then dad was from Dowra, and actually the same townlands as Dowra and Dowra. Dowra, one in Cavan, one in Leitrim. So they met, I think, at the Ballroom of Romance, which is just up the road in Glenfarne.
The ballroom of romance.
I know, how romantic. I love it. Oh, it's just up the road, yeah. I've done a couple of cookery, charity cookery demonstrations there. And Mark, my mother and dad bought the building in 1965 for £1,000. It was an old Garda station. I think maybe they had 4 bedrooms, 9 bedrooms, now we have 20 rooms. That's great. They'd be so proud of what we've all done.
What did you learn from them?
Oh my God. I learned everything. I suppose my mother, when it comes to food, we'll talk about food first of all. I learned about buying local, seasonal, how to roast beef, how to roast duck, Thornhill duck. We're using them 35 years. You know, she used to slow roast it. She was an incredibly hard worker. Smoked like a drain, Mum. She did.
Did she?
I always make a joke, pardon me, that the only thing I smoke is lobster, chicken and duck. No interest at all. But anyway, she was an amazing mother. She was kind. She was so good to me. They used to bring me over to Hotel Olympia. We go to Royal Hospital Road. We go to Gordon Ramsay's Aubergine when he was there. We go to the really good restaurants.
You'd bring her?
No, they'd bring me.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And Mum and Dad. So we'd go over in the ferry and we'd go for a couple of days and I'd go to CCS, pardon me, and I'd buy plates and they'd get different things for the restaurant, new ideas and that kind of thing. My dad was front of house. So when I was very young, say about maybe 16, 17, was changing the menu every week, Mark, every week. And my dad was tasting things. He'd have to go into Sligo. He'd get vanilla. He'd get star anise. He'd get Coventry chocolate. Gone with the days. You know, we hadn't Palace or any of those kind of suppliers coming to us.
What was that, like moon food at the time? Or
yeah.
was
it was hard to get. And it was probably like I was reading kind of all the kind of, my very first book I ever got was Marco Piro White Heat from my brother Dave, from my twin brother. He got it when he was in college in Limerick. And I remember sitting up in bed and reading through it and saying, wow, this is incredible. Like I have a collection like you of room twice the size full of cookbooks. Used to always go to Books for Cooks in London over to and get loads online or whatever. But they were really good to me as parents. They taught me to respect and to value your staff, treat them like family. And that's the best advice. I saw them struggle. I saw them worry about money, worry about paying the bills.
Like with that family that size, it must have been tough.
It was tough, Mark. I'm not going to lie to you. Every Sunday was a Sunday lunch for the family. And then, of course, when we opened the restaurant in 89, Mum was known for her dessert trolley. Like, where would you see that nowadays? Like, she was a great hard worker and she would have made all her sauces to order. Now, you must remember, when we opened the restaurant first, a mixed grill was a fancy thing. Half a grapefruit, whiskey, brown sugar. You know, it's changed so much. She'd make like a steak Diane, but the sauce made to order, you know, which in the pan. Like, she was an incredibly hard-working mother and a great mother, but a great woman. Very kind. So say if someone locally died, she'd always roast chicken, send up food. That's what communities are all about, support one another. And that's what I still do to this day. Like we had one of our chefs lost her father there 2 weeks ago. So we sent up some curry, we sent up some soup, we sent up brown bread. And that's important to never forget your local community where you come from. To me, she taught me all about that. She did. They're great people, great memories of them. And it's supposed to be so happy that we've kind of bought the business on a bit more, if you know what I mean. Like where my mum used to live behind my house, my sister lives there, which is great.
And I presume they saw a lot of the progression. They would have been seeing where you were going.
Actually, there were like 2 peacocks.
Were they? Yeah.
Honest to God. And like when I won the Young Chef of the Year, the Bailey's Young Chef of the Year, when I was 21. Only a wee while ago, Mark. Isn't that right, according to Wikipedia? That was a huge milestone in my career. You know, I won kind of Student of the Year in the whole UK and British Isles because I went to college in Northern Ireland. So I had to go over to the House of Commons and I was presented an award with Alan Titchmarsh, and that was a really special day. My parents went over with me and my teacher. Actually, I never mentioned someone who was really good to me, Marion Campbell. She was incredibly good to me from Anna College. So if we go back to my career, I've always had a lot of help from my home economics teacher, Maria McMorrow. Leah Leinster, I worked with her when I won the Young Chef of the Year. She's the only woman to ever win the Best Cook in the World, the Bocuse d'Or. You'd know that competition in Leon. And I went and worked for her for 3 months. And then I never took a holiday until I met Imelda. I used to go and work on a stage. You know what that is too. So you go there. If you're lucky, you get fed. Very lucky if you get accommodation, but you're there to learn.
Yeah.
And she was amazing to me. So I've had a lot of support throughout my life, and you never forget people. Now, in that kitchen, I saw how not to treat people sometimes because she'd lose it. She'd make Gordon Ramsay look like a pussycat.
Go on. You have to give me a little insight there.
Well, I remember once I was cooking apples. It was for a foie gras dish. I was putting salt instead of sugar into it, Mark, and she gave me the biggest bollocking. I went up to my room and I cried, I swear to God.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, I did. I was heartbroken. I felt like such a fool. And she kept she said to me afterwards, Neven, I'm sorry I spoke to you like that. I only want to make you a great chef. And then when I went back for one of my TV shows, she's one of the few chefs that I've had on twice. And I was so nervous cooking because her signature dish mark is a large potato rosti with Irish loin of lamb, rolled in breadcrumbs and rolled. So it's like a beautiful loin of lamb in a potato crust. And that's what one of the book store. She said, this dish won me €1 million, she says to me. But she's a great woman and she came over and stayed in Black Lion. Loved her dairy, milk, cream, butter, yogurt. Said it was the best in the world. So that was high praise.
You still haven't told me what she said to you though when she bollocked you.
Oh, do you really want to? What?
Yeah.
All I remember is
That's what this is all about.
Just being totally humiliated, you know. And like when she'd go mad in the kitchen, she lost it. You would just keep your head down. But she was always very good to me. Like I stayed in her house for 3 months. Remember that? That was not no joke. And day off, she'd bring me to the vineyards. She'd pick salad and said, Neven, this cost me nothing. I'm going to make money in this. I says, wow, that's really cool. So yeah, she was really good to me. I swear, because then I worked in another restaurant in Roscoff. And that was really a tough kitchen, Mark. That was my first insight.
That was rock and roll.
That was really tough. And there was a great chef there, Robbie Miller. God be good to him. He was very good to me. And there was about maybe 10 chefs. So we were there in college. All college students came in at 9:30, finished at 4. I was there to learn. I said, no, I'm going to stay until 11. Whenever the chefs finished, I wanted to stay. So after 3 months, I asked Paul Rankin, you know, any chance of getting a reference? He said, who the do you think you are? You're never going to make it as a chef. He said, funny enough, I met him recently, a few years ago. And he said, well, Neven, how you doing, you f***er? He says, he still said that to me. You know what my jobs were there, Mark? Scrubbing the cooker tops, picking herbs, prepping vegetables, doing all your basic preparation. But he said, you have a real talent, you have a real keenness, you know, and I was there to learn. And it was my first Michelin star kitchen. And it was
Why
a
did
great
he tell
experience.
you were useless then? Was that reverse psychology?
Maybe it was a wee bit of that, because I saw him making a girl cry every night, Mark. Every night. And a man too. I thought, wow, this is wrong. You know, we can all make mistakes. I make mistakes. You learn from it. If you make a mistake, you explain and try not to let it happen again. You know, I mean, that's just not acceptable. We certainly would never speak to anyone like that, to belittle someone. And you know, the likes when we see Gordon Ramsay on TV, brilliant chef and all the rest, but when you're belittling someone, like, that's not the way we treat people in kitchens. You know, we won't hold on to staff. We got to nurture people and be good to them. And if they make a mistake, you know, we're in this together. We learn from each one. We learn from our customers. So that was a real insight. And his wife, Jenny, was an amazing lady. She'd come in and do the bacon and the pastry, and she was fantastic. But I loved it there. That was my first real insight to a really top end kitchen. And yeah.
Talk to me about a personal life and being a chef. So obviously incredibly busy. Where did you meet Imelda?
Met Imelda in a very fancy nightclub called CP's in Galway. So I'd come back. I was doing the book store for Ireland, and I took the weekend off. So I went down. My sister lives in Galway. So we headed down, myself, my brother-in-law, my mother came down too. And I met Imelda out that Sunday night. And then she was so hungover the next day. She took the next day off. And then we went to the Cliffs of Moher. And then the next day I brought her up to open house to RTE. So the rest is history. She's originally from 15 minutes, a place called Bow. So I always make a joke, I shop local for food and love. And no, she's amazing, because Imelda and me work in the business.
She wasn't in the industry,
no.
though, was she? So how does that work?
But you know what, Mark? She was trained as an accountant, well, at accounts, doing bookkeeping. So she has a great business head on her. And you need that. Chefs, we may think we're good business people, but we're actually not. If it was me, I'd give everyone for free. I would. And you can't run a business like that. And that's something coming from a cabin man. But to be honest with you, Mark, Imelda does all the decor, and it's beautiful. What we have now, she's so talented, and we work together. We're very lucky and that we have such a beautiful place, thanks to her, to be truthful with you. She does the books, the wages with Andrea. So we've a really good, the two ladies have us in a great kind of a system and a setup. Every producer, every supplier is paid every 4 weeks. That's the way it should be, because we get paid every night for what we do. You know, employing 60 staff, you know, it's a big wage bill at the end of the week. So we got to be full. But we're doing one sitting. Bedrooms are full. Without the bedrooms, we wouldn't be in business. That's the reality. Or you'd have to cut back on your staff. But we are very lucky. It's consistency. And that's what you want in our industry, as you know.
Is it tough to be married to someone and working with them?
Not really, no. And I'll tell you why. Because Imelda does breakfast. So she comes in and does breakfast with the guests. Pardon me. I do service. So maybe during the day I'm doing recipes, or it could be like come in the evening. I suppose my role has changed within the business. So like the chefs are there. There's probably 13 chefs in total, including for breakfast. So Carmel runs the kitchen. So I would go in, meet all the guests, do service. I love that. I couldn't imagine not being in my kitchen, to be honest with you, Mark. So Imelda looks after front of house for breakfast. She'll do the books. Monday usually is the bookkeeping and doing the wages and that. But it's about having a good team, you know, and let everyone kind of flourish and develop. Like our restaurant manager, Charlie, she's been with me 6 years. Blahin was her old sommelier. She was with me 20 years. She wanted to do something different. She got a bit burnt out from the industry, you know, and that happens. And the door's always open if she ever wanted to come back. So we're very, very lucky that we have such a good team. And you got to kind of let them flourish. I think that's really important.
Tell me, in current circumstances, how you have children and manage manage being a chef.
Can I tell you, it's the best thing ever happened in my life, having kids. And I remember, you know, going on a Galway and Mel had the scan, and we saw 2 little babies there. So, oh my God, I'm so happy too. Yeah, because we had no baby, we had no children. But to be told you're getting twins, and we never told anyone. We did tell it, sorry, they were twins, but we knew they were a boy and a girl, but we didn't tell anyone until they were born. Imelda, unfortunately, was very sick after she had the twins. She had what's called cardiomyopathy, which is heart failure. You can actually die from it. I didn't realise how sick she was. Fully recovered now, no medication, thank God, amazing. So the twins, Conor and Sia, they're 13 now. And Mark, they're eating things that I wasn't eating when I was 13. Like, they've eaten in 1, 2, 3 star. They've eaten in Arzac. They've eaten in Per Se last, like Gordon Ramsay. Like, Conor wants a steak medium rare, razor clam, like, incredible. But what I said, I think the Irish palate has changed, and I think we're a lot more adventurous, and kids wants to see what you're eating. Like, we never, even as babies, and you know all about this, like, we never cooked anything different. Once they see what you're eating, like when you're cooking from scratch, we cook simple, good food at home, and then we go out for dinner. You know, one of our places, favourite places, is called a restaurant called Ocean. It's in Villa Vita, 2 Michelin star. The twins love that. It's a real treat to see them eating that. It is class. And the chef is Austrian, and they're probably saying, look at these 2 kids. Geez, they probably wants chicken nuggets and no, they eat the whole menu, which is a beautiful thing to see. And people ask me, will they be in the industry? Conor said he wants to be a chef. But one thing I learned from my own family, you never force them. All my family worked in the business, and they said, no, it's too hard a work. It's not for me. They appreciate it and they know the hard work. But, you know, with the twins, nurture that, get them cooking, give them life skills. The best thing we can give our kids. We're both chefs. If you can teach them how to cook, and hopefully maybe Conor might be a chef. I'd love it. But they're enjoying their food, and I suppose making time, Mark. I definitely changed my whole perception when the twins came along. I used to be there like for dinner, go in and do service. So I definitely slowed me down a wee bit because I was on the road a lot doing cookery demos. I remember one night coming from Cork, nearly falling asleep in the car. I got out and walked around the car and I said, no, I got to stop this. You know, I'm going to end up in trouble if I don't. So I really made a big call, and, you know, the sleepless nights too, feeding them. But our mother-in-law was no longer alive, unfortunately. Eileen, she was amazing to us. She half reared the kids. Honestly, she's the best mother-in-law, and my mum too. So once you have family and family support, that's so important. We're lucky because we live 5 minutes from the restaurant. So we're not living in the restaurant. When we got married first, we were living up at the top floor.
Yeah, intense.
We couldn't wait to get out of there. You know, to be honest with you. And that's my home where I grew up. So now we live 5 minutes, and you do have that little bit of space. And it's just lovely when the twins come in for dinner, and that just, yeah, they're good. And they just started secondary school there in September, and they're doing home economics. So delighted.
Are you the cool dad? What do they think of you?
I'm the cool dad. Oh no, I'll probably think, what is this dad playing this vinyl and this music? Yeah. You know, I love playing football. Conor is a great little footballer, I have to say. Probably every dad says that. But he's a great interest. He's a natural skill, loves fishing. I love bringing him out fishing. And whenever we go to Portugal, we go on a fishing trip. He goes fishing in Loch Macnean or the local river, and he's pretty good. He knows a lot about fishing because he was watching it a lot when he was very young. And then we go over to Old Trafford. I know it's not a good time. I know you're going to slag me off.
God bless him.
I know, but listen, I've loved Man United from the age I was 15 or 16. I think Ron Atkinson, when he was the manager there, and then Berkey. And I've seen the really good times. These are terrible times, but they'll come good again, because I have 3 brothers who are all Liverpool. Really? So they love to slag me off. And I know you're Leeds, man.
How did you end up with United? We won't talk about my allegiances.
I don't know, Mark. I just really liked them, and maybe it was Norman Whiteside winning the FA Cup. Maybe the Irish connection, Paul McGrath, you know, Dennis Irwin, you know, just maybe there was that, but I've always loved them. And it was over twice this season so far, which has been terrible because it's costly to go there, you know, and Spurs tanked us 3-0. It should have been 5 or 6-0.
What did the
First time I ever left early. What do you mean?
When they're there getting tanked by Spurs 3-0.
Oh yeah, we just can't talk. It's just soul destroying. But what I did this year, I've never been to the museum part of it. That was fantastic. And the stadium tour. Just to see all the trophies they've won, that was good. But when you go to Old Trafford, like it's like military precision. Just seeing the way they do the tours, like I will always follow them, and it's a great buzz. We actually went away to the away game in Brighton, when the second game of the season. I brought a friend over. That was amazing because they're the hardcore fans. So I messaged somebody, could he get me a ticket, and he did. And I was we lost 2-1. I know, Mark. But yeah, listen, it's only football. It's only football.
Listen, it's time together.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's good time and it's bonding time. And then Lucia and Imelda would come over to Manchester if you go to the game, and they'd do a bit of retail therapy and that. So everyone's a winner.
Who's the tougher parent? Do you ever have to give out?
Oh, you do. Giving out is part of being a parent, but explaining things, and like I think me and Imelda were very easygoing. Imelda, we want them to be respectful. We want them to have manners. Obviously, we all want that, and not to be grateful and to say thank you and that, and to be happy. It's the most important thing for your kids, to enjoy what they're doing. Like Lucia is a great little baker. She loves baking. Very good at garnishing. You want to see when she does a lovely little kind of like a granola bowl. The fruit is beautifully sliced. She's a real talent. Whereas Connor, he loves making French toast, the brioche, the whole lot. He's great. It's great to see that, and that's all ahead of you. It's one of the best things, as I can say, to have twins. It's a dream come true. And, because I'm a twin too, and we're very close. And my brother, Kenneth, he is twins too. So they're running the family, so they do.
Quick fires.
Yes.
And I don't tell any of my guests any of these, just to try and get a bit more of a reactionary answer.
Okay.
So we'll start off with the worst meal of your life.
We went to, I think it was a 2-star in Milan, and it was a 1-star vegetarian. It was in Milan. It was terrible. It was some of the worst food
I think
ever.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that's a while ago, Mark. Can't even remember the name. I don't want to remember it, but it was dreadful.
What made it dreadful?
The whole experience, everything, the starter, everything. They were pretentious. They were a bit rude. They were a bit up themselves, but the food was awful. You could forgive kind of rude service if the food was, but the whole thing was dreadful. When you leave and you say, oh my God, just wasted so much money.
Italian Michelin star restaurants.
I know.
Waste of time.
Some of them.
Most of them.
Okay. You have more experience.
I'm going to go
than
for an
me
opinion there.
Okay.
Tell me, what did you have for dinner last night?
Tell you what I had yesterday, not last night. I had some roast chicken, made some stuffing, and then lovely buttery mashed, and some carrots glazed with maple syrup and butter. My father-in-law was his birthday, so I made a little chocolate delice for him. It was a little birthday cake, and put a little bit of cool swan into that, and that's what I had. We like to see in a Sunday we always do a kind of a roast dinner.
So you cook, but you would properly cook away at home, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Mark, I'll tell you, since COVID, I've never cooked at home as much. I love doing that. And I suppose I love to batch cook too. So myself and my daughter, we made a chicken noodle soup. I'm obviously with you in Dublin today, and she made it, and it's great. So that bond of food, that's great. And as I said to her, she's a great little palate, Lucia. So she made it from start to finish. And we use these lovely kind of stocks from a lady up the North, Carroll Stock Market, and they're really good quality. And she put ginger and garlic, the usual chicken, and she was just delighted. It was yummy.
Takeaway.
My favourite takeaway.
Well, what would you normally get?
Oh, I love a good burger. I love a really good burger. Yeah, a lovely burger with some cheese, smoked bacon, nice brioche bun, chips, bit of curry sauce there, I suppose. Yeah.
People would be surprised at that.
Yeah. See, if I ever go to a McDonald's drive-thru, I'd always have sunglasses on.
So you do go to McDonald's?
Not very often. My actually son Connor loves it, sorry. And whenever we go to Portugal, or we were in Madeira last year, great country by the way, would recommend, and because I recorded there last October, lovely country. So Connor loves to go to McDonald's maybe once or twice when we're there. I always say McDonald's is the most consistent restaurant in the world. You get exactly what you're given. Like it's not good food, but it is tasty sometimes. As a treat.
You said it. I go a lot as well, yeah. We have a drive-through at the bottom of the road, which does get a good bit of use, let me tell you.
Good man.
I eat it in the car park and I put a hat on.
I love it.
Talk to me about a dream day.
Dream day. Well, I wake up every morning early. So I try to have my own gym where I do my mixing. My brother-in-law comes up. I have a friend who I've been to some games, Peter Gold. He's a Leeds man too. I've known Peter over 20 years. And he comes out, so he's a personal trainer. So we do a spinning session. So what I do, Mark, yeah, so I need to because I definitely struggling with my weight, to be truthful with you. And I love that for your head too. So I have my deck set up. So I'm playing vinyl. We're on the bikes and we give it everything for 45 minutes. That's in the morning. Then after that, we're a lovely hot tub just beside the wee studio. Jump into that for about 10 minutes. If I haven't seen guests the night before, I'll go down and see them, pardon me, in the restaurant. Go around and see all the guests. It would take about an hour. Welcome them, thank them. If it's a birthday or whatever, then give them a little book or something like that. And then usually come back up home. We have 2 wee dogs. I know you love your dog. Bichon Frise, gorgeous dogs. So bring them for a walk. And then that would be probably get lunch and go into work, get dinner, and then go into work. That's a perfect day for me. I love it because you see, with the hours now, it's not what it used to be. I used to be coming home at 1 o'clock at night, 1:30. Now I'm home no later than 10, 10:30.
Really?
I swear, Mark. Because our guests come in at 6, 6:30, 7. People probably ring and say, no, that's far too early for dinner. It's actually not. It actually isn't. It has worked a dream for us. We have a model that works for us and we're definitely not going to change it. It's going good.
And then I'll finish you off. This is always my favourite one. 4 people for dinner.
Oh.
Including yourself, at a table. Anyone, anytime, any era. Who do you pick?
Del Boy, Only Fools and Horses. I have every single DVD. I used to go, when I was working really busy as a chef, go in with a big mug of tea, Barry's tea, packet of Maltesers, empty the whole Maltesers in, and watch Only Fools and Horses with the crew. Maltesers, melting in the tea. Gorgeous. And fish them out with a spoon. Yeah, loved it. So, definitely Del Boy. Marty Whelan. I love that man. He's been really good to me. Know him over 25 years. I think he'd be great fun. I'd love to see him drunk too. And we get really nice Italian wines. We do a lovely tasting menu. So that's Del Boy. Who else now, ladies? Now let me just think now. I think Mary Kennedy. I'll tell you why. She's a great cook. She's really, really good fun. And I think she's a really decent lady. I know Mary as long as I know Marty, and I just think she really gets food and loves it. She was down in the restaurant recently. She celebrated her big birthday, and she's one of life's good people. You know, when you meet good people, you never forget. They've kind of touched you in some way. And
this is a wild table so far.
Yeah,
I can't imagine how this is going to... So one more seat.
This is one more seat. Okay, I have to think. Now, can I invite my wife? No.
You're the one answering the question, Neven. Depends on how you want to go home.
Well, am I going to be cooking and she'll be serving and then we're doing the dinner party? Is that what you're asking?
No, you can't add her in. If you're picking her, she's got to take the last seat, and if you're leaving her out, we're about to find out.
Can't leave her out. She's got to be there.
So Mel
she would have the crack. Definitely. That's a tough one, because I'd love Alex Ferguson thrown in there. Roy Keane serving the food. Imagine Alex Ferguson, because he'd love the big reds. Yeah, that'd be good fun. Okay, so can I add on 6 then? 6 people.
If you were to add one more, I'll give you one more. No, you can't.
Okay, Alex Ferguson. Yeah, definitely. A man I absolutely admire, and what he's done for food and soccer. And yeah, I just think I'd love to meet the man. I'd say he's an icon. What do
you most admire about him?
His drive, his ambition, his love of what he does. You know, like we're chefs, we love food, we love what we do. But think, like, he's done it for so long. He's won everything. The most successful manager ever. You know, and the pressure, and at the same time, taking no bullshit. You know what I mean? Managing players, just great guy. Yeah, definitely.
And then last question before I send you back up the road. If you'd like to be, when you're gone, remembered for one thing, what would you like to be remembered for?
Being kind. For sure. Being kind, respectful, yeah, that's it.
On that note, Neven, thank you very, very much.
You're a gent. I loved it.
Pleasure.
Thanks for the tea. Thanks for the dessert. Absolutely loved it. You're a gentleman.
Thanks
congratulations on all your success too.
Don't
I finish this. Love
you can indeed. As Neven finishes that off, you can like and subscribe to the podcast. You can leave a review or even tell a friend. You can also watch the full conversation on YouTube so you can see Neven finishing off the Il Flottant. And I will see you next time.